As we begin, I want to welcome you once more to Unity of Tacoma. We are an online community with a physical presence here in Tacoma, Washington. Whether you're joining us online or here at our location on South 74th Street, we're glad you've chosen to spend this time with us. This morning, I brought one of humanity's most enduring and most familiar mythological symbols. What is this? What kind of leaf? It's a fig leaf. It came off my fig tree. Yes, I have a fig tree at home. It's the first thing I planted. I lived in South Texas. We had figs all the time, and I wanted figs, so that's the first thing I planted. What is this a symbol of? You remember the symbology? You remember the story? Yes, yeah. Wishful thinking, maybe. Here's the story. First, the humans, are in paradise. But in paradise, they have a choice. They're given a choice between life, living fully forever, or having knowledge of right and wrong, good, bad, good and evil. Well, the fig leaf represents shame. It represents that emotion of shame that we experience. These humans have a choice between the tree of life versus the tree of knowledge, of good and evil. Now, in the story, they're told they may eat of one, may not eat of the other, right? That's choice. The first thing that these humans are given is a choice. And guess what the humans do? Humans go the other way because we have to find our own way. These humans in this story were not able to mature because they needed to get out on their own and work for a living and produce children and do all those things that a human do. In the story, they couldn't do that. They were stuck in paradise. Stuck in paradise. Well, what they did is they made the choice of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, this is a sexist story. It's gender biased because it's a mythological story. They all are. Okay, so there's a representation of the intellect, the masculine and the emotions, the emotional nature, illustrated with the feminine. Pardon the sexism, but that's the symbolism of it. And this, and in the story, in some versions, in some translations, they're both there. It's not like Eve went and ate of the tree and then brought the fruit back to Adam. They were both there at the tree. They went there together, and she just, she picked it, ate it, and gave it to him. He ate it, and all of a sudden they experienced shame. We didn't have that song this morning. Shame, shame, shame. The tree of knowledge of good and evil it represents that place inside us that we can go to make all the world wrong and all the world right. We like these people, we don't like those people, so these people are good, those people are not good. And that's our judgment. That's the judgment we place on them. I saw an article today. This week while I was looking at this message, and the title of the article was, "What if teachers could extinguish shame?" Would that be a good thing? I don't think so. You'd be without a major part of your emotional makeup. We're made up. We have that part of our emotional makeup. I think what they were talking about is that we're using shame as a verb. Our emotions. Only two of our emotions that I've seen are also verbs, love and shame. Can you really shame someone? Can someone shame you? When someone's shaming me, they're not using their faculty of judgment. They're trying to play on mine. It's a manipulation. And if I didn't have that faculty, they wouldn't be able to do it, but I wouldn't be able to determine let's call it right choices and wrong choices, just for another, just for a dualistic framework. Most of the articles that I read used shame as a verb. It's something you do to someone else, and that does have real meaning, but it's a form of emotional abuse, and it may be the most prevalent form of emotional abuse. from an evolved point of view, no one can shame you. It's not possible. No one can shame you unless you have the shame about something already. It's emotional manipulation, like I said. So where does shame come from? They come from snakes. Shame comes from snakes. Okay? Okay, it doesn't come from snakes. It comes from the reptilian brain, what's called the reptilian brain. That is a misnomer because reptiles do have evolved brains beyond just the emotional switch that I'm going to talk about. But it refers to the simple part of the brain, a simple brain that can only make simple choices like fight, flight, or freeze. Something happens, and the snake either fights, or it runs away, or it'll become still. Well, we have that ability, and we have that function. I call it an ability. We have that disability to fight, flight, or freeze, and we need it. But it's centered in the part of the brain, a primitive part of the brain, called the amygdala, the part that processes emotions for us. I'm not a brain specialist or scientist. I'm here with a layman's understanding of the brain, but I love to look this stuff up and see how the brain develops in childhood. That function in humans is in the amygdala. In a snake's world, something happens in front of the snake. The snake has only a few choices. It can fight, or it can run away, or it can just be still and hope it's not noticed. Do you ever have those responses to life? Yes, chances are kindergarten comes to mind. In a snake's world, something happens, and there's simply a choice. Trust or don't trust. Somebody's in front of me. This animal is in front of me. Do I trust or do I not trust? It's an emotional switch. Attack or don't attack. Is it food or is it a danger to me? Is it food or is my safety in danger? Well, we enhance that switch. Through the evolution of our brains, the human brain, we've outgrown that switch, but it still runs things. If we don't evolve that part of the brain, if we don't use the evolved parts of our brain to filter what the amygdala does, we're functioning at the level of a snake a lot of the times. Watch a 2-year-old. Observe a 2-year-old along the world, and the part of the brain that's waking up and evolving, you can see it, and it's fun to watch. But the other part of the brain is just acting on instinct. When we see something, see someone, and that part of the brain tells us to trust, it also tells us that they're good. Oh, they're good and not bad. They're good and they're not evil. And this unevolved part of the brain has that ability, gives us that ability to evaluate. But as we evolve that part of the brain through our own practices and through our own intellect and through study and through gathering information and all those resources we have, it doesn't have to be in charge anymore. That ability to evaluate is essential for a human being, but we want to be able to do it in a way that's just a little more evolved than a snake. Yes? Now, I love snakes. I had a snake for 10 years. He's still in the family. He lives with my grandson, Zafir, now. Some of you have met Zafir. I get to visit Junebug from time to time. The ability to evaluate is so strong in a human being that the evolved parts are willing to follow along with the unevolved parts, especially when things start to fall apart a little bit. We just go back to that fight, flight, or freeze. So we evaluate what we do with the faculty of judgment on a constant basis, because we don't want to have to flee, we don't want to have to freeze. We're constantly evaluating. We're evaluating other people. We're evaluating ourselves. When we evaluate ourselves and judge ourselves, where does shame come from? That's where it comes from. We evaluate the world: good, bad, right, wrong, useful, not useful, things I prefer, things I don't prefer. The amygdala is in the brain driving this faculty, the faculty I'm calling judgment. We often experience judgment in our solar plexus, don't we? It feels like a gut feeling, a gut reaction, a knee-jerk response, instinct, until it's evolved into intuition. We cannot evolve away our survival instincts. We don't want to. We wouldn't survive this world very long if we evolved away these survival instincts. But when it comes down to choice, when it comes down to evaluate the world, to choosing among possibilities, we want to be able to choose an idea and reject another, and choose an idea and reject another without having to go to the good, bad, right, wrong place. We can do that with people. We can decide that people don't need to be in our lives, and we don't have to be mad about it. We don't have to be angry about it. If you're angry about it, you're still engaged, right? If you're fully disengaged, you have a responsibility for your own emotions. And that's taking responsibility is part of the faculty of judgment as well. We have to be able to take responsibility for our own emotions, for the fact that they're there. Somebody comes up, says something, I react and get mad. What happened? He made me mad, right? No, it doesn't work that way. That's not the way the emotions work. We choose, we reject, we choose, we reject. You occupy a universe of infinite possibility, but this is also a universe of finite expression at any one moment. Infinite possibility, finite expression, because what's in the world right now is what we've created so far. And we don't know what else is possible. There's also, our question is, how are we going to evolve this faculty of judgment, this ability to choose? How are we going to evolve it beyond fight, flight, or freeze, beyond the duality, trust, don't trust? What if there's many more possibilities besides don't trust and don't trust? What if there's, how will we ever know if we're stuck in that duality? Our question is how we're going to evolve the faculty of strength so that it becomes part of wisdom, along with understanding, will, and the other faculties that add up to wisdom, the other capacities we're exploring in this series. The practice for evolving the faculty of judgment is contemplation. Contemplation is different from meditation. It has some similarities, but with meditation, here's the thing. I'm not talking about something fancy. I'm talking about something every human does. Any human who stops moving and sits down and then stops talking and then stops thinking is meditating. You can there are many techniques. You can add a lot of techniques to that practice. But that basic practice is something every human does, so we might as well use it for our own benefit. If you sit down and meditate like that, stop thinking, and then start thinking again, that's what I'm calling contemplation. It's a mindful contemplation of what's going on, of what's happening in the world. Everyone contemplates. We're evolved to contemplate, or every human wouldn't do it. We're evolved to contemplate, or every human wouldn't do it. Let's use it for our benefit. Use it to evolve ourselves beyond where we are. We want to seek education. We want to get experience. We want to have access to information that gives us the tools to deepen and refine our choice making. But the practice that we have been using since we evolved that can help is contemplation. This practice for judgment. It's different from meditation, as I said. You simply go back to thinking, do that thinking mindfully, and allow the meditation, if you will, to inform the process of contemplation, of reevaluating the world from a different state emotionally. We think it's a different state mentally, it's a different state emotionally, because it's not really different thoughts very often. First, it's a different way of feeling about the world. With contemplation, we go back to thinking. We start with, if you want to transform yourself using the practice of contemplation, start with those areas of shame. Where have you judged yourself as being inadequate? Where have you judged yourself as being not fully whole? Where have you judged yourself as being somehow deficient? All humans do this too, it turns out, if you look real closely and get down to it. Well, start with those areas of shame and transform those. Any fan of Brene Brown? Yeah, fans of Brene Brown here? Yes. Shame is her topic. We don't get rid of it. We must embrace it and transform it. There's a character in the story that's very familiar. The story is The Wizard of Oz. Any fans of The Wizard of Oz? I love the movie version. There's a movie out about her, isn't there? A brand new movie out about Judy Garland. I can't wait to see that. In The Wizard of Oz, there's a character with no faculty of judgment because he doesn't have a brain. If I only had a brain. You ever get stuck in what if? You get stuck in what if I only had a brain? Well, the scarecrow, he doesn't care. You can go this way, you can go that way, you can go all the other ways. It doesn't matter. He can't make a choice. He doesn't have the faculty of judgment. The faculty of judgment, under the direction of our higher awareness, can get us unstuck. We can make a choice. We can follow that yellow brick road. The scarecrow learns to use his experiences. He gets more information. He learns to contemplate. If you watch what he's doing and listen to what he's saying, he learns to contemplate. And it turns out he already has a brain. So do you. That's good news. You can clap. You have a brain. The word should. The word should is the faculty of judgment's greatest triumph and its worst calamity. Because it gives us impetus, if you would, to move in the right direction, but it also gives us the judgment we put on, I should have done this, I should have done that. On the path to awakening, on the path to an awakening consciousness, people often perceive or imagine a power outside themselves guiding them. Well, I want to say this. I doubt seriously that the universe cares what you do. I seriously doubt that the universe cares what you do. But you cannot be put out of the universe. If the universe has a message for us, it's going to be filtered through that amygdala. It's going to filter through those emotions. It's going to come through that faculty of judgment and help us make a choice. We call that guidance, spiritual guidance. It doesn't matter whether it's really coming from outside ourselves or whether we're simply perceiving that way from a higher brain. We're still finding a better way to be in this world. It starts with meditation. It moves to contemplation. Let's turn within for meditation for a moment.